Hi there and welcome to this video in the IBM Cloud Foundation Skills Series. And in this video, which is going to be a lecture, we're going to focus on access control lists and security groups for your virtual private cloud. So the first question really to answer is what are they? So what are access control lists or ACLs and what are security groups? So both of them really are a means to actually control incoming and outgoing traffic. So that's network traffic that goes to and from your environment. So there's some kinds of traffic that you want to allow, so it might be calls to your website or calls from your website to your database server, and there may also be traffic that you might want to block, so things like, let's think about SSH calls to your servers from people that have no business SSHing into your servers in the first place. So you can actually use access control lists to actually control the traffic and do that. So a couple of things to remember is that ACLs actually work at the subnet level. So this is traffic that's going in and out of the actual subnet, whereas security groups actually work at the virtual server instance level. So these control what can actually access your virtual servers. And you can think of both of them really as types of virtual firewall. So access control lists in a little bit more detail. So as I said, these actually work at the subnet level. So it's a means to control what traffic can actually enter and leave the subnet. So you have quite fine-grained access actually as to what traffic can even get on to your subnet in the first place. So an access control list is actually made up of rules, and you use the console, the API, or CLI to actually create rules and actually create your access control list. So if there's no other ACL attached to the network, then the default ACL is used. What you'll find is that the default ACL actually allows everything in and everything out. So that may not be the most secure way of actually running your subnets. So it may well be that you do actually want to go and even change or actually create a new ACL for your VPC. Another important thing to note is that only one access control list can be attached to a subnet at a time. So there's no concept of being able to attach multiple ACLs. It's only ever one ACL. And I guess the other thing that's missing off this list really is that you can create multiple ACLs for your region, and you can then use those ACLs in different virtual private clouds in that region as well. So a few things to note about access control lists. So you have inbound rules, and they can allow or deny traffic from address ranges using particular protocols and calls and ports. You then have outbound rules. So again, with outbound rules, you can allow or deny traffic to access different ranges using particular protocols and ports going out of your subnet. The important thing to remember is that rules are evaluated in sequence, so they're numbered from low to high. So if you've created an ACL and the behavior of that ACL doesn't seem to be what you're expecting, then make sure that you check which order your rules are actually in, because it may well be that, for instance, you've got a deny rule in there, and that's maybe blocking something, or if you're getting traffic in that you're not expecting, then maybe you have an allow rule, which is then allowing it. So maybe then you just need to tinker with the order of your rules so they're evaluated in the right order. So if a rule actually applies to some traffic, then no other rules will be evaluated. So as soon as it either hits an allow or deny, which applies to that particular traffic, then it stops there. So again, that's something to bear in mind. Inbound rules are stateless, so that means that if you create an inbound rule to do something, then no corresponding outbound rule is created. So you have to go and create the outbound rule for it as well, and vice versa. Obviously, if you create an outbound rule, then no inbound rule is created for you. So at the moment, ICMP, which is effectively ping, TCP and UDP, as well as all, can be specified when creating protocol rules. So that covers obviously every single protocol that you can think of because of the all there. But in particular, you control ICMP, TCP, and UDP. So here are some of the kind of rules that you might want to create in an access control list. So the first couple there are around web server type traffic. So you might want to allow inbound traffic on port 18443 because those are the ports that obviously web servers typically use. The third one there around using port 3306. So 3306 is the default port for MySQL server. So again, if you have a MySQL server in your setup, then you might want to allow traffic from your public subnet to your private subnet. So again, you can create an ACL to do that. You might want to deny all inbound traffic from any source. So again, when you're thinking about your lists, if you've got a web server, then you might first of all want to allow the traffic to come in, and then after that you want to deny all of the traffic so that any other traffic is explicitly denied from any source. You can also just deny traffic from particular IP addresses as well, so again it gives you a bit more flexibility. So for outbound rules, if you're running web servers, and again you want to allow the outbound TCP traffic back on port 80 or 443, because otherwise the web server will receive something but it won't reply. And again, if you've got a web server that's on a private subnet, or sorry, a database server that's on a private subnet such as MySQL on 3306, and you need to allow the outbound traffic back into the public subnet. And again, you then have a deny rule to deny any other traffic going in or out. So with access groups, as I say, they're slightly different in the fact that they work at the virtual server instance level. So the traffic has already got to the subnet. What the access group is doing is potentially stopping traffic getting to particular virtual servers. So it's actually a means of controlling what traffic can enter and leave a particular virtual server instance. So again, you create rules and you use the console, the API, or the CLI to do that. And again, if no other access group is actually attached to the instance, then the default security group is used, which allows inbound traffic from all members in the group and all outbound traffic as well. So again, it's not the most secure access group because it effectively allows everything to hit your server. Unlike ACLs, you can actually use multiple access groups within your VPC. And you can actually attach up to 5 security groups to a particular network interface at any one time. So you can actually get very granular. You can create different access groups for different types of servers, and of course you can also build up your rules over several groups if you want to. So remember that by default, a security group actually blocks all traffic. So if you create a security group and it's got no rules in it at all, then and you attach it to a server, then that server will receive no traffic because the security group will block it. So the rules are actually used to allow traffic. So again, that's something that's very important to remember. All rules are evaluated, so you don't have to worry about ordering your rules in a security group because every single rule will be evaluated before the traffic's allowed. Inbound rules are stateful, so if you create an inbound rule, then the outbound rule is also created for you. It's implicitly there. So as I say, these rules are actually stateful. Security groups can only be used in a single virtual private cloud as well. So unlike ACLs, where you can create an ACL and it can be used in the region against multiple VPCs, if you create a security group, it can only be actually used in the virtual private cloud that you created it in. So again, that's an important difference to remember. So example rules would be to allow TCP traffic on port 22 from a specific subnet, and this is where your so port 22 is the SSH port. So if you want to SSH into your server, then to make it more secure, you can just allow traffic from a specific subnet or even specific IP address. And I'll be showing you how to do that in the lab. You can allow ICMP, which is ping traffic. So if you want to be able to ping your servers, you can allow that through a security group. And you can also allow TCP traffic from let's say another security group. So if you've got different security groups in your VPC, then rather explicitly name different servers, you can actually do it by security group as well. So for instance, you're happy for your web server security group to access your database server security group, then you can just create a simple rule that allows traffic from the web server security group and then apply that to your database security group. So security groups in virtual private clouds are very, very similar to the security groups that are in IBM Cloud Classic. So if you're interested in seeing how security groups work for IBM Classic infrastructure, then there's a couple of videos that I've already created for that, so those are the links on this page here. So in the next video, which is going to be a lab, we're actually going to create an ACL, and we're going to create a security group as well. So the ACL is going to allow some web traffic in. It's going to allow SSH traffic in as well. And in the security group, we're going to allow web traffic to hit our web servers, and we're also going to allow SSH traffic, but only from a certain IP address, which is going to be the IP address of my laptop. So, so we're going to create those in the, as I say, in the lab that follows this. So that's it from this video. I hope you've got a reasonably clear idea in your mind now as to what an ACL is and how it's different from a security group. And as I say, in the next video, we're actually going to go and see how to create each of those and then apply them to our VPC. If you've liked this video, then please feel free to subscribe to the channel. And in any case, I hope we see you next time.